Good day. My name is Mrs. Pinar. I am your tutor for Numeracy and Mathematics 1, NM21, DJP and DPP. This is your assignment-based as well as exam-based presentation for 2021. We will start off by looking at our table of contents. The first one, the development of pre-primary numeracy. The development of learners' understanding of numbers, their symbols and values. How to develop learners' ability to identify features of objects and then classify them. How to develop learners' observation of patterns, sequence and ordinal numbers. How to develop an understanding of spatial awareness. Also, the 4 basic operations in mathematics and problem solving. We are also going to look at measurement of time, length, mass and capacity. 2- and 3-dimensional shapes and data analysis. Lastly, we are going to look at the teaching and learning activities and materials for pre-primary numeracy and mathematics. We'll start off by looking at activities to understand mathematical concepts. The activities. Now first we have to look at the word activities. Whenever you are asked in an exam or on an assignment to describe activities. Activities is simply what learners or the teacher are expected to do. It is something that we do practically. So activities, you need to understand that you need to focus on what to do practically. We are going to use more than one of our senses when we do activities: touching, seeing, and hearing, or more than one of our senses. So, the first mathematical concept that we are going to discuss is sequencing. Now, what is sequencing? Sequencing is when we put things in order. Sequencing means when we put things in order. Now, for our learners, our pre-primary and junior primary learners, when we start off with sequencing, we first look at colors and later on at shapes. Now, talking about sequencing in colors, for example, I have a few colors of some counters that I have here in front of me. So if we want to do sequencing, we use colors first. So for example, my sequencing is 2 yellow shapes, 1 orange shape, 2 blue shapes, and 1 red shape. So I continue. It's a sequence. 2 yellow shapes, 1 orange shape, 2 blue shapes, and 1 red shape. So what do I expect from my learner? I expect my learner to continue in the same sequence. I do the sequencing practical. They continue 2 yellow, 1 orange, and that is how I do sequencing with my learners so that they can see and feel the different shapes and they see the different colors. I can let them make beads also. And this is something nice. And they can put it around their necks I start off with 1 red, 1 green, 2 yellow, 2 blue. Same sequence, 1 red, 1 green, 3 yellow, 2 blue. And the learner continues. I can use smaller beads. We can collect some smaller beads. And then the learners would love to do these. They practice sequencing practical. They do it practical. Alright. Our next concept is classifying. Now, what is classifying? Classifying is when we group things. So we group things. So grouping things according to the 3 different attributes that we have there. I group them according to color, or I can group my objects according to shape, or I can group my objects according to size. So classifying according to color. We don't need to go buy things. We can also collect some bottle caps. I usually take my learners out, or I ask them, I involve them to collect some bottle caps for me. So I'm just showing you a few things that you can do without using or spending some money. Bottle caps, this is what I did. I also asked learners to pick up some lollipop sticks. They pick up some sticks and I colored them. So these are the things that you can use in your class to assist your learners. So we are first going to classify according to color. So I give my learners a box with counters or bottle caps, and I ask them to, all these objects that I give them, ask them to classify or to group them according to color. So they are going to put all the yellow ones, regardless of the shape. They are going to put all the red ones and all the blue ones. They are going to group them. So this is classifying according to color. So they do it. I see that they know this is red, this is yellow, this is blue. Then I can ask them to classify or to group according to shape. So now they are going to look for things with the same shape. So if something is round to them, doesn't matter what the color is, they are going to use all the circles that they can find, and they are going to group things according to shape. These are all round shaped. Or I can ask them to group according to size. So although I have all these around, I now use size as my mathematical concept, and they group according to size. So color, shape, and size. Now, counting. What is counting? And counting is so nice when I can also use some color. So here I have colored a normal egg box. I have colored it. And like I previously said, we group according to color. So the learners take all these bottle caps that they have collected themselves, and they put it in this egg box according to the colors that they can see. And in the same way, I can ask them now to count how many yellow counters do they have there, how many yellow bottle caps do they have there. And the learner count loudly. 1, 2, 3, 4. They pick it up because they need to feel 1, 2, 3, 4. So now the learner knows he has blue and how many. You are teaching the color and you are teaching counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So everything that we did just now is practical. The last is sabotaging. Now sabotaging is merely when we work with small numbers and learners can identify the small numbers without counting. And usually I use a dice. You don't even need to go buy a dice. I've made one, and the learner, I throw the dice in the class, and without counting, the learner should know that this is 4. They don't need to count. This is 5. This is 3, because they can see. This is what sabotaging is. Sabotaging is merely looking at something, small numbers, and knowing the number without counting. That is sabotaging. Remember that all these things should be done practically in my class for my learner to have a better understanding. We continue the development of pre-primary numeracy. Now, sequencing, that means ordering, putting events, ideas, or objects in logical order. So sequencing merely means I put things in order, like we said earlier. We put it in order. So there are different activities that I can do practically to help the learners with sequencing. There we have picture sequencing. Picture sequencing, usually there I have an example, is where I ask the learner, if you have to make yourself a sandwich, how are you going to go about? What will you do first? So according to the pictures, the learner is going to number what steps he will take to make himself a sandwich. Or the frog, the development of a frog. I have pictures of the egg, I have pictures of the tadpole, and then I have picture of the frog. And the learners must now sequence these pictures so that they can know what picture should come first. Even a bird, you can have, or a chicken, the egg, a chick, and then the hen. So all these pictures just to help the learners in sequencing. Photo sequencing, we ask the learners to bring some photos of themselves to class from when they were a baby, maybe in pre-primary or in kindergarten, now at this age. And then the learners should now put this in order. The learner takes his own photos and put them in order of age. This is photo sequencing. It's just helping the learners to know what is the order of events. Letter and number sequencing. We use the letters of the alphabet or numbering, and we know that you don't always have to start at A or always have to start at 1. You can start in the middle, but as long as the learners know which ones are first and which comes after which one, so that they can help themselves with sequencing. Sequencing in daily life. You merely ask the learner, you can ask the learner, what do you do when you get up in the morning? The learner will start explaining, he gets into the bath, or he brushes his teeth first, have his breakfast, put on his school uniform, and then come to school. So that is the order of how they do things. And this is how sequencing in life is. And this is how learners recognize order in mathematics. There is order in mathematics. What should be first and what should be next. That was just a picture there. We continue with classifying and sorting. So when learners group things together, using color, size, shape or kind. The way we have explained it earlier. That is classifying or sorting. Is when they group things according to color, shape, size or kind. Now what are the activities that we can do? We take blocks using color, the same things that we've done earlier. We take color, all the ones that has the same color, regardless of the shape, they belong together. Right? They belong together. So yeah, we have grouped according to color. Then we group according to shape. Regardless of the color, we group according to shape. And size, these are all of the same size. These are all of the same size. That is all sorting and classifying. Or you take your child or your learner, you ask them to bring some pictures of vegetables and fruit from home. They cut out pictures, or you bring magazines to school and you ask your learners to cut out some pictures of fruits and vegetables. Now, we are also going to do grouping now. So now they are going to separate the fruits from the vegetables. So now we know that learners know how to distinguish what fruits are and what vegetables are. This is a practical way of teaching them how to classify or sort things. Also, using pictures to paste in tables using likes or dislikes. So they cut out things. Even you can use the same pictures of fruits and vegetables. You ask them now to make a table. One side of what I don't like and one side what I do like. And now they paste these pictures according to what they like and what they do not like. Part of classifying and sorting. Or if they go to the grocery store, if they go to the shop with their mother, they must just take note of what is in the meat section, what is in the frozen food section, what is in the sweet section, biscuits and all these things. So they can see in the shops, we also separate things, we classify, we group things all over. Everywhere we go in life, we group things. Alright, that is just a worksheet of what we can use, some examples of what we can use to help our learners with classifying and sorting. On the left hand, they have to look at, there are two pictures that do not fit into that. On the other pictures, if you can see, these are all clothing, but there you have that picture of a boat and that picture of a drum. So learners should encircle the ones that does not fit. They group all these other items together as clothing. This side, we have some horses here, we have some cats there, we have some dogs and some cows. So the learners just encircle the ones that belongs together. So they can know, or rather these are activities that I can do to help my learner with grouping. When it comes to measurement of length, mass, capacity and time, right, all these things are important to do practical. The process of measuring. In the preschool phase, the process of measuring must be seen as a process of comparing attributes of objects. Again, comparing. So, what am I going to do now? I am going to compare the lengths or the size of objects. The size of objects. Here I have some objects. Here I have some objects. They look the same. They look the same. but they are not of the same size. So measuring things. If I look at this, I can see with my eye that those are not of the same size. This stick and this stick are not of the same size. So that is how I do measuring. I put some objects next to each other, and the learner should identify the longest to the shortest. So that is measuring things. Remember, at this stage, they do not use measuring units. They don't tell us about centimeters, millimeters, meters or kilometers, or mass like kilograms, grams. So they do not measure in measuring units. And also they do not measure using measuring instruments. They do not use rulers. They do not use measuring tapes. They do not use scales, anything. Measuring jars, they do not use measuring instruments. So how do I teach lengthen? Length is simply, like I said, we compare the length of objects by putting them next to each other. We can compare. So they use only the vocabulary like longer and shorter. So they can see which one is longer and which one is shorter. If there are objects that they have to measure by which one is longer and which one is shorter, like maybe the length of the desk in their class or the length of the teacher's table, they can use their hand span, this or this. They can tell me the length of this paper is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hand spans. And my desk, the breadth of my desk is 8 hand spans. This is how we use, or what we do in our pre-primary or primary phases. They use their hands or their feet. If you want them to measure the length of the classroom, they walk with the heels to their toes to measure the length of the classroom. Yeah, I have some examples, some worksheets that you can look at. They're just comparing. I have blocks there, and the child can tell me this object is 1, 2, 3, 4. How many blocks there? They can count them. This object is so many blocks. So these are the ways that we can use. Look there. And then even paper clips that they can use to measure with. That is length. Now mass. Mass I can compare by lifting some objects. Now here I have this object, and here I have a glass of water. And I can ask the learner to pick up these two objects, and the learner should be able to feel which one is heavier. So the learner simply use heavier or lighter. So for my preschool learner, I use heavy and light. So they simply do this by hefting or pulling or pushing. You can ask them to push their own desks, or they can push the teacher's table, and they should be able to feel which one is heavier and which one is lighter. So hefting simply means to take two objects in your hand, one in the left and one in the right, and then you feel the mass. So we do it practically, only using heavy and light. So time, the concept of time. Remember, they do not tell time by using clocks or watches. How do they use time? They use time by talking about long and short periods of time. For instance, you ask the learner, you come to school for 5 days. And on the weekend when you rest, it's Saturday and Sunday. Which time do you think is longer or shorter? And the concept of longer and shorter should now tell them that when they come to school, is more days, it's longer time than what they are spending at home over weekends. And also, we also talk about time of day. We don't talk about time on the clock. We talk about morning time when they come to school, afternoon time when they go home, evening time when they are at home having supper, taking a bath, and night time when they have to go to sleep. That is the time of the day that we talk about. Days of the week, we can use some examples of telling them Monday is the first day that you come to school. Saturdays usually you go to the sports field or you play sport or your family watch some sports. Sundays is usually when you go to church, so that they have the concept of days of the week. And in our classes, as junior primary teachers, in our classes, we should know that we should have the days of the week against the wall every time. Because when the learners enter in the morning, we should ask them every day what day it is. What day was yesterday and what day will it be tomorrow. That is how they get the concept of time. Months of the year, we should teach them the months of the year so that they know which months follow. And we can make them excited by asking them which month is your birthday month. And when it's their birthday month, we put it up and we say, we put up some photos of them on that specific month and ask, whose birthday is it first during September? Which of our friends will have the next birthday in September? And so on. That is how they know, and that is how they get the concept of how long things will take. If my birthday is first, it takes shorter than what my friend's birthday will be that has his birthday further in September. So calendars and days of the week is very important in our junior primary classes. So some more activities to help them grasp the concept of time. We create calendars with their faces on. We use timely words, today, yesterday, tomorrow. We can use books on what happens on Monday, mother washes clothes, on Tuesday, and so on. On Friday, it's weekend, it's going to happen. So we can use some books. We also can make a countdown chain. There's an example of a countdown chain. And as every day goes or passes, we get rid of one of the links of the chain so that they see it's almost Friday. Day 1 was Monday, day 5 is Friday, and so they will get the concept of time. Alright. How to develop learners' understanding of numbers, the number symbols, and the number values. Now there are two kinds of counting. Rote counting. And what is rote counting? Rote counting is simply what is developed first in learners. We know from a very little age, we teach our learners or our children, as mothers, we teach our children to start counting 1, 2, 3, and later on as they grow older to 5, out to 10, up to 20. But that does not mean that the child understands how many 10 things are. They simply recitate it. They recite it. They say the numbers in order, but they still don't have a clue of how many. So my 2-year-old child can say numbers up to 10, but when I ask him to go get 7 stones for me outside, he will not necessarily come back with 7 because he does not have the concept yet. But rote counting is simply knowing numbers in order. They recite it. The next step is now rational counting. Rational counting is now the higher level of one-to-one correspondence, meaning my learner knows now that if I tell him this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, he can even now point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And here I can even start giving him the numbers. I give him a number. I tell him, read the number, you're supposed to know the symbol, or can you tell me the symbol? And the learner will say the symbol represents 5, and so 5 items is equal to the symbol 5. This is the higher level, and this is rational counting. Now, why do we need counting in our lives? What are the advantages of counting? On this level, we will do 3 different advantages. On national level, on local level, and on personal level. Now, on national level, what is the advantage on national level? The completion of census in order to count the population to make provision for services. What does that mean? Every 5 years, Namibia or all other countries have the census, where they have the census, meaning they count the population. Why is it necessary for a country to know how many people we are in the country? This is, like we say here, to make provision for services. We must have enough schools, we must have enough hospitals, clinics, roads, and all those things. So it is important to be able to count. On the first level is national level, so that we can do our census, so that we can know how many people there are in the country for all these services, to provide for all these services. What is the advantage on local level? Local level, where we stay in our areas, in our rural areas, in our urban areas, in the cities, in our towns. It is important so that we know how many people are making use of the roads, so that we can build maybe service stations, more roads, other things, that the infrastructure that is needed in our towns to make provision for us. So we need to know how many people there are, how many cars there are. That is the advantage of counting. On personal level, we need to be able to communicate. I need to tell people how old I am, what my cell phone number is, of my phone number, where I stay, my address, all these things. So my numbers make it able for me to communicate with people, to solve problems. If I go to the shop, if I buy some items, I should be able to know how much I should pay and what my change should be. So this is to help me solving problems, and also reasoning, for me to be able to know. So as you can see, mathematics is important in life. Mathematics is everywhere in life. It's not just in the classroom for the child. That is why we want to equip our children in math, so that they can go out there in life and be good citizens. That is just the way how I showed you that the child should touch objects for them to count, to know how to count. Right, the teaching concepts, doubling and halving. Now first of all, doubling. What is doubling? For a child to know what is doubling, I need to give the child, say, counters. This is now making it practically. I can give the child, but at this stage, remember students, at this stage I make use of small numbers, like between 1 to 10. They don't need to use big numbers yet. This is a concept that I'm trying to teach to them now at this age. So I'm using the 3. I'm using 3. I can encircle it even. So to double, I ask my learner, if you have to double this number, what are you going to do? And the learner should be able to tell me they had, in the next circle, you should also put 3 more objects. So doubling means whatever number I have here on my left side, I should also add the same number of objects on my right side. So, and now I add. So doubling simply meaning addition of the same number, right? So I show them what doubling means. Right. Halving. What is halving then? Please take note that at this stage for junior primary, we only use even numbers. The reason for that is our learners do not work with fractions yet. So we only use even numbers, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and keep those numbers small when we do these things practically. So let me take 4 counters, 4 bottle caps. So now I will ask my learner, if you have to halve this number of objects, what will you do? And the learner should be able to tell me that halving means dividing by 2. I can make my circles again. Halving, dividing by 2. So I have 2 groups. So what halving means? Dividing equally. If I have 6 of them, whatever I put in there, I should put in there. So I share equally, just as if they are going to share some sweets equally amongst 2 of them. So what is halving? It's dividing by 2 equally. So we show them, or we ask them even to help us to halve. They do it practically, and like I said, we can use the sticks, like I showed you, the sticks, the bottle caps, counters, whatever you can lay your hands on. As junior primary teachers, we should be very practical with our teaching aids. We should make most of our teaching aids and not go buy them. Right. We get learners that learn in different styles. We get learners that learn when they see. They learn better when they see things. Others learn better when they hear things. And other learners learn better when they touch things. Now let's start off with the learning style for visual learners. Visual meaning learning by seeing. So these learners, they prefer to learn by images, looking at things, through pictures or maps. They are the learners that can visualize objects. If you talk about a circle, they don't need to touch it, they don't need to see it, they can know, they visualize what a circle looks like. They have a good spatial sense, meaning they know how near or far things are. they love drawing. Whenever they have time in class, they are the ones that would prefer drawing instead of making a noise. And they are also the learners that have a good sense of dress, how to dress, and color balance. Auditory learners, they are the ones who learn by hearing. So they are the learners that hear better, they learn better because they can hear things. When they hear things, they are the learners that should sit in front of the teacher because they learn better by hearing. Then we also get the tactile learners. They are the ones that learn through touching. So for them to be able to know what a circle or a triangle or a square is, means they should touch the object. They should feel the object. That is how they know this one have 3 sides, this one have 4 sides. They are the ones that learn by experiencing things. So they are the ones that will get bored easily if the teacher just use the voice if they teach. Now, what is visual discrimination? It is the ability to see the differences or similarities between objects around us, which enable us to understand and interpret the world around us better. Let's use our circles again. So, the differences and similarities. The learners should be able to see the similarities. These are all round objects. But they should also be able to see that these objects are of different color. They are of different color and they are of different size. So, visual discrimination simply means we should be able to discriminate between similarities and differences. So why should learners be able to discriminate between similarities and differences? It's because when they start writing, many of our learners have problems with the D and the B and the P. So they struggle to read. So they have to be able to distinguish the differences and the similarities between these letters. Also between the numbers, the different numbers. Maybe 6 and 9. So these are all the reasons why learners need to be able to distinguish visually between things that is different and things that is similar. How do I know that my learner has difficulty with visual discrimination? They cannot dress themselves because they don't know what is inside and what is outside. They have difficulties with similarities and differences, like the B, the D that I showed you now, the P. And they cannot distinguish between the sizes of letters or objects. What is form constancy? Form constancy is the ability that allows you to understand that a shape or object stays the same even if you view it from different directions, environments, or with different size. What are the activities that the learner can do? You can give them different shapes to cut out, squares, rectangles, circles, whatever. And after they have cut it out, they first group them into the different objects, squares separately from circles, and afterwards they can arrange those shapes into sizes from small to big or from big to small. You can also ask them to point out objects in the class that looks like a certain shape. Maybe a square, a poster on the wall, or a window, or whatever. So then you know your child has done practical activities to help them with form constancy. There we have a worksheet. Here the learner simply needs to circle the one on the right that matches the one on the left. The same shape. Ordinal and cardinal numbers. Ordinal numbers tells the position. I'm first. When I run a race, I came first, I came second, I came third. Ordinal numbers. Cardinal numbers is numbers that we count. 1, 2, 3. These are 5 items. These are 6 items. That is cardinal numbers. Spatial awareness. This is the ability to understand and interact with the environment around us. What are the characteristics of learners with poor spatial awareness? How do I identify these learners? They are usually the clumsy ones. They bump into all the chairs and tables in the classroom. They are unable to tell left from right. If you ask them to pick up the left hand or the right hand, they get confused because they have difficulty with spatial awareness. They find it difficult to do physical activities. They have problems copying patterns and shapes from the board, and they have problems interpreting instructions. If I tell them, go stand behind the chair in front of the desk, those are the learners that I know that have problems with spatial awareness. How to expand learners' vocabulary of spatial awareness? I play games with them. What kind of games? Usually I spy, where you look at or you recognize a certain object and you now give them some clues. I spy a blue object. I spy a blue round object, and so on. So those are the kind of games that you play with your learners. Or Simon Says. That is how you help them with their vocabulary regarding spatial concepts. You give them oral directions, go under the table, and if you look at this sheet that I pasted here, tell them to go low, to go medium, go high, and these are all words, vocabulary that you can use to assist them. And those other ones you can just read through, but please help them by using vocabulary like low, medium, high, straight, and so on. You can read through those ones. Also reading and writing numbers in words and in numerals. So the first, we did first there is we wrote the number in numerals and you had to write it in words. Second example there is where we wrote it in words and then you simply have to write it in numbers or numerals. When it comes to data handling, there are some things that you need to concentrate on. When you are asked about differences in data handling, differences simply means we have to subtract. If I have to have a quick example here, if I ask you the difference between the number of cupcakes mother baked on Monday and the number of cupcakes mother baked on Wednesday, you also need to take note of the key. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 6, 30 cupcakes were baked on Monday. 1, 2, 3, 4 cupcakes times 6, 24 cupcakes were baked on Wednesday. So the difference between the number of cupcakes on Monday and Wednesday that mother baked is 30 minus 24, that is equal to 6. Also, you can have a question of give the total. All you need to do is you add up everything, and if there's a key, you times that with a key. So total means everything. If you are asked to give the average, you take the total, and in this case there are 7 days, so you take the total and you divide it by the 7 days. So the total divided by the number of items. If it's this 1, 2, 3, 4, I would divide it by 4 sports groups. That is data handling. 2D shapes. Please just know all the 2D shapes, their properties, as well as how to draw them. especially when it comes to the 3D shapes. Know how to draw your 3D shapes and how to what their properties are. When it comes to Bloom's taxonomy, make sure of the verbs. The verbs are doing words. Yeah, the relevant verbs. Bloom's basic knowledge, the level 1, it's define, describe, outline. Level 2, it's just a higher level, it's application, analysis, and synthesis. And the words that we use here is apply, demonstrate. Those are all the verbs that you use. And number 3 is a higher level. It's evaluation and critical thinking. And we use these verbs: appraise, compare, judge, discuss. That is when it comes to Bloom's taxonomy. How can I assist my learner with hand-eye coordination? I can do the following. Give him some work to color in. Give him something to trace the dots on. He can cut with a scissor. Give him something to cut. Catch and kick a ball. Kicking or skipping with a rope. Working with clay and stringing beads. Right, I've come to the end of this. So lastly, just how to calculate time. Let's do one example quickly. The time is almost up. So I have 4 hours, 25 minutes, and I have to add, let me write it smaller, 4 hours, 25 minutes, and I have to add 1 hour, 55 minutes. I group the hours, 4 hours plus 1 hour, and I have 25 minutes plus 55 minutes. Quickly, right? So what do I have here? I have 4 plus 1 hour is 5 hours, plus 25 plus 50 is 80 minutes. And now I see that 80 minutes is more than 1 hour. 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes. So I subtract, and then I have 20 minutes left, and this hour became another hour. So at the end, I have 6 hours, 20 minutes. Alright? So the next one you can do by yourself. And in conclusion, just make sure that you read the assignment instructions as well as examination instructions that you can read through by yourself. Good luck and goodbye. See you.